Hey guys, I hope all's well. Just adding on to our simplifying radical skills, we're adding on the multiplication aspect. You can multiply radicals here. You see, if you have the square root of a times the square root of b, it's simply the square root of ab. So you can multiply radicals. You just multiply whatever's inside by whatever's inside, and if there's values outside, you multiply those. So like right here, square root of 2 times square root of 12, we can multiply that to get square root of 24, but then we still need to simplify it. So if I break it down to 4 times 6, exposing the perfect square 4, I can then take the square root of 4 out, which is a 2, and the 6 stays in. You can also break it down before you multiply. As you see, I redid number 1 here where I broke down the 12 before I even multiplied it by the square root of 2, and I ended up with pulling out a 2 and a 3 goes back in. So this radical 2 is still here. And then I have a 2 radical 3 simplified version of radical 12. And here when I multiply the radical 2 times the radical 3, I get the radical 6. This 2 just comes along for the ride. So again, whatever's inside, I can multiply. So the 2 and the 3 I can multiply, and whatever's outside, which is only a 2, just comes along for the ride. I did this problem in one other way, where I multiplied the square root of 12 times the square root of 2. Well, actually, no, I didn't. I broke down the 12, but without a factor tree. So instead of making a factor tree out of the 12, I just made it 3 times 4. 3 times 4 is still 12. Then I take out the square root of 4, which is a 2. So yes, it ends up being the same answer over and over, but just wanted you to see a few methods here. So once I simplify the square root of 12 this way, I still get 2 radical 3, and 2 radical 3 times the square root of 2 still gives me 2 radical 6. So then all the rest, I kind of just either multiplied them or almost multiplied them. So I did this one, 3 times 4, 12. And then 2b squared times 10b, I got 10b to the third, and then immediately I have to simplify this. So I break down the 20b to the third. 4 times 5 is 20. Remember, with your odd numbered exponents, you have to break them down or decrease them by 1 and add an extra variable. So b to the third became b squared times b. Once I did this, I could take my square roots. The square root of 4 is 2. As you can see, it came out. The square root of b squared is b. That comes out. And then whatever's outside, which is now 12, 2, and b, I multiply. Get 24b, and then if you look all the way back here, you can tell the 5b is what stays inside the radical. So pretty much the same thing on all these. The 3 radical 6 times the square root of 18, you can see I went ahead and put the 6 and the 18 under the same radical, but I didn't even multiply them because I was going to have to break it down anyways. So the 3 comes along for the ride. There's nothing to multiply it by. The 6 and the 18 can get multiplied, as you see here, but then after, I just took the 18 and made it 6 times 3. So I have this 6 here. 18 is 6 times 3, and once I have 2 6's, I can take 1 6 out, and that 3 has to stay in. When I take a 6 out, I have to multiply it by the 3 that's outside the radical, so 6 times 3 is 18. 18 radical 3, final answer. On this one, I went ahead and I multiplied the 2 and the 3 both outside the radicals to get 6. Inside the radical, I didn't multiply the 7 and the 14. I did put them all under one radical, but I didn't multiply them because I knew I was just going to have to break it down anyway. So you can do that. You can do it either way, but you're kind of seeing both methods from me here. Anyhow, 7 times 14 times t squared times t, all that is everything that was under the radicals, the 2 radicals. I took this 7 down, I made the 14 into 7 times 2, t squared and t came down, and then here, since I have 2 7's, I can bring out a 7, and I have a t squared, the square root of t squared is t, so that came out, and then you can see here a 2 and a t stay in the radical, and then when I bring out the 7, to multiply by the 6, so 7 times 6, 42. 42t square root of 2t. Here, I went ahead and multiplied everything. 2 times 9 is 18. So you see, sometimes I multiply everything, and sometimes I just kind of write everything together without actually multiplying. Like, I didn't actually multiply 7 times 14, but I'm showing them right next to each other. So it doesn't matter how you do it. At the end of the day, there's one right answer. So here, 2 times 9 is 18. A times a to the third is a to the fourth. All I did is break the 18 down to show the perfect square, which is 9. So 2 times 9 is 18. A to the fourth comes down. I take out the square root of 9. It's 3. I take out the square root of a to the fourth. I probably should have crossed that out. Square root of a to the fourth, remember, is just cut the exponent in half. So it's a squared, and this 2 stays in the radical. So final answer, 3a squared radical 2. And then these here, I multiply what's outside. 3 times 5 to get 15, whatever's outside the radical. And then I multiplied what was inside the radical, 6x squared times 3x. So 6 times 3 is 18. X squared times x is x to the third. And then I simplified the radical. So the 18, I broke it down to 2 times 9. And the x to the third, I broke it down to x squared times x. And then I can take out the square root of 9, which is a 3 here. I can take out the square root of x squared, which is an x here. And then I have to kind of notice that a 2 and an x stay under the radicals. So then last but not least, I multiply everything that's came out. 3 times 15 times x, so I have 45x. Square root of 2x stays in the radical. Or 2x stays in the radical, that is. So there's that one. And then on this one, I have a 4 outside the radical. Just bring it along for the ride. 2 times 14 is 28. X times x to the third is x to the fourth. So I went ahead and multiplied everything and then simplify. Break down the 28. 4 times 7. Take out the square root of 4. It's a 2. You can take out the square root of x to the fourth. It's x squared. And then the 7, nothing you can do with that. It stays in the radical. And then don't forget, multiply everything that's outside. 2 times 4 is 8. And times x squared, you get 8x squared. Radical 7. So there's a couple ways you can approach these, but at the end of the day, you can multiply the radicals. Whatever's outside radicals you can multiply together, and then whatever's inside radicals you can multiply together. And then you still got to simplify the way we had been doing the last couple times that we looked at these radical skills. So hopefully this helps. Thanks for having a look, and then get some practice problems done. Thanks.